leads of real important people from companies and from scientists and politicians. No? And this year, there was a very, very broad understanding of the crisis in the world. We need a broad political, we need to embrace this, and we need a broad political solutions for this. And I say to them three things. First, these are not victims. They are victims, but they are even more heroes. So if we have the possibility to enable them instead, they will do magic for themselves, for their families, and for society. Second, the enablement of people is like we can give them the infrastructure that we have today here in the Western world. And that's the things like we've been talking about before, like the banking, the internet connection, the education, of course, and all the things like having a passport, etc. And that has been a problem in the analog world, and that have been difficult in the analog world, but it's not difficult anymore. Because there's a technique that can solve all these issues, and that technique is here already today. And that is what we all talk about here, and that's blockchain. So the third message was that this we should not do tomorrow, this we should not do today, we should do this yesterday. Because the problems are there today, and they're huge, and the solutions are here today. Like some people have said here, it's not rocket science, actually. When we've been working with artificial intelligence and all these fantastic things, blockchain is not that rocket science when it comes to technique. It's about the application. Should we start with this today, or yesterday? So, just in order not to tell everyone else what they should do, but actually set a good example and do something good yourself, I started my most recent company, IR, taking care of one of these issues. We are born out of the global skilling crisis of the world. You probably know, all of you, that we have 70 million people, young people in the world that are unemployed. And we are going to get 75 more million people that are going to be unemployed due to AI and automation. No? What most people don't know is that we're going to get 130 million more jobs due to AI and automation. So how do we do this skilling gap? How do we make these 150 million people get to know the new skills in order to get the new jobs? That's called the skill gaps. The scope of this is like 150 million, but the real scope is even bigger. It's 2.5 billion people in need of education in the world. No? And if I talk about one of the things, if I talk about how we do well for investors, it's not a small business. It's a $6 trillion business, twice as big as the car industry. And if I talk about doing good for society, it's the most strongest tool to make a change in this world. So who should take care of this? Who should take care of the skill gaps in the world? The analog world should years know, and still we have 260 million children that don't have education. Still we have education that is claimed to be doing good for teaching you how to be teaching you for life, but not teaching you to get a new job. So, again, it's the digital world is doing a better job, so to speak. And that is what IR is doing. We are using new technology, not to repair old processes, which is what is being done today, but in actually innovating new processes, so to speak. And I will not talk that much about our company. I'll just show you one slide, the state where we are right now. We launched the first app last year, and it became the biggest app in the world. It's in 165 countries and highest ranking on Google Play and App Store, etc. The first AI-supported learning app in the world. Right now, we're in the middle here. We're building the app for solving the skilling crisis, with all the kind of courses needed to do that. And we're launching the first AI customization. So we have a learning that is possible to do personalization. The second thing is we're doing what the blockchain secured certification in order to not be able to cheat, which is the biggest problem in the business, in order to get the credibility for mobile learning, and having a bulletproof interface, etc. And the third thing is that we're doing gamification to this, so it should be fun also. You should not have to choose between learning and having fun, but you should be able to do the same thing, instead of playing Candy Crush until you're 90 years old and you die. And the next phase all the courses, that for nursing and for construction, building, etc. But right now it's for one step at a time, so to speak. So, but I will not mumble anymore about our company. The thing is that we are alone, and we don't want to be alone. There's a lot of things to be done. So 2 weeks ago, we announced the joint venture between us and 2 companies. And they're called SID, and they're called Dope Card. Anyone from you here today? Okay. We are working like a school of fish instead of working like a big, unflexible shark, so to speak. And the first application that we are doing, the first project, is in Ghana. And we're enabling 500,000 young students there. It's a project that is supported by the Ministry of Education and 25 universities. And in the pipeline, we have another project like this with 3 million people in Nigeria. We have taxi organizations, we have coffee shops waiting on the line to do the similar things. And some other countries, and some sheikh actually. So that's what we're doing. And why do we do this? It's because we have a common denominator. We like what is being done by UN, and the SDG goals. We like the objectives of the World Economic Forum in Davos, but we think it takes too long time, and we're impatient. We don't want to talk anymore. We want to act. So what we're doing is these 3 things. We're helping the unconnected people to get connected. That's what SID is doing. They have a marvelous US patent for mobile sharing. The second thing is healing. That's what we're doing. We also have a marvelous project for doing the best mobile learning that is secure and fun and efficient. And third, we have the unbanked people, where we provide, where the company Dope Card provides a very simple banking that feels more like social media than a boring bank, so to speak. So what will happen next? I don't know. There's a lot of things to be done out there, and I don't know. It might be the green tech. It might be that we need to help with some online coaching when it comes to health. It might be doing some of these things that you have been talking about here, like being able to do donations without cutting all the administration out, etc. I don't know. You tell me. And then when you tell me, after that you join me. Because we're going to do some real good to this world. And we're not going to wait anymore. We're going to make some difference. We can do it, and because we can, we are going to do it. That could have been the last slide, yeah? We are doing good for society. But what about the other thing? I said that we also can do well for investors, no? And I cannot talk for Dope Card or SID, the other companies. I could, because they're really good companies. I would invest in them. I actually will. But I can only talk for my own company, IR. There's a rule out there that says that if you take care of a small problem, then you get a small company. If you take care of a big problem, you will get a bigger company. And taking care of education in the world is one of the biggest businesses in the world. So there will be some significant business, so to speak. Actually, the highest ranked futurist by Google claimed some years ago that the biggest digital company in the world would be a digital school. And we will become that digital school. Whatever it takes, we will become that digital school. So there's business there. And if you're an experienced businessman, you know how to reduce your acquisition cost and increase your lifetime value. Well, the business comes by itself when you have those kind of volumes. So we are doing good for investors also. But the best is, of course, that we can do good for investors and do good for society. I'm 100% sure we can, and because we can, we will do. Thank you.
The mic? Okay. Rufus, first of all, very impressive things that you do.
Thank you.
In 2015, I attended to Riga Social Entrepreneur School with my own project.
Yes.
Rehabilitation Psychological Center for Ukrainian temporarily replaced people because of the war with Russia and Ukraine. So what you actually do is amazing. And I do truly believe that social entrepreneurship together with blockchain, can make huge change, like huge change. And I really wish you good luck. And I loved everything I saw, and best of all.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you.
And now, guys, the next speaker will tell us very interesting things, how we can get more money. And it's Chris DENNY about blockchain and e-commerce, business to customers and business to business. So, ready? Hi, Chris. How are you?
I'm very well. It's really great to be here, and it's great to participate in what's a launch event for the blockchain industry in Vienna. So thank you for the invite, guys. I work for a company called BitPay. I'll give a very brief introduction to myself. I've been around the fintech space for several years, working for PSPs primarily, and I've been around the blockchain space for a little bit of time as well. I put a visual up on the stage behind me of a cup of coffee because in some regards, you know, water's incredibly boring. We add coffee, we change the dynamics, and potentially that's what blockchain is doing to the world of e-commerce and to the world of payments. It's not my intention here today to sell to you. I'm not going to talk too much about my company beyond a brief introduction, but I'll be around afterwards and I'll be happy to follow on. Tiny bit about BitPay. We've been helping merchants accept Bitcoin since 2011. We've successfully raised $72 million of investment capital. Some of the investors in our business from the beginning include Jerry Yang, who was one of the co-founders of Yahoo, Li Kai-sheng from Asia, and from Europe, Richard Branson, who is in the news at the moment for hosting a music concert on the border of Venezuela. Interesting what he's doing. You know, before I talk about blockchain payments, I just wanted to talk about some of the companies that are involved in blockchain experiments at this moment in time. Some of these guys I've had the pleasure to meet. I was in Berlin last week and I met with Daimler. I'm meeting Singapore Airlines, who are doing some interesting stuff around putting their frequent flyer wallet on the blockchain. It's called Chris Flyer. There's Volkswagen, FedEx, and there's all the companies that we've heard participate this week as well, and hundreds of others. Now, what I believe is consistent about a lot of companies that are putting stuff on the blockchain is that some of them will take off, like we see the Wright brothers plane, and some of them will soar. And here we have a beautiful Dreamliner in Virgin Atlantic colors. Others won't fly. You know, they won't be around, and it's just, this is business, but I believe we are changing things. What I want to talk about is not the future, not the near future, not the far future, just here and now, what's happening with Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash and other coin payments at this present time. You know, the reality is that us as a processor, and there are other processors around as well, processed $1 billion of deposits from cryptocurrency last year. And this is both business to business and business to consumer. You know, I've put an image up here of a Miss Handsome chap. Some of you may recognize him as Kevin Bacon. I believe he's about to do some dance moves from, actually we'll be doing this ourselves this evening if we get too drunk. The reason I put Kevin Bacon up is there's an expression that every actor in Hollywood is connected to Kevin Bacon by 1 or 2 films. You know, potentially this is what the blockchain payments industry is doing. Certainly it's what I see my personal mission, having come from traditional fintech. So rails that the blockchain payments companies have into traditional fintech include payment service providers such as Bambora, gateways such as PPRO, you know, banks. You know, we have a direct pipe into Wirecard, the stock market listed German bank. We are connected with ING, the tier 1 Dutch bank. The e-wallets are incredibly connected. We heard a participant earlier on from a crypto e-wallet, but traditional e-wallets are just much better. Skrill, Nutella, are all enabling Bitcoin holders and other cryptocurrency holders to spend that currency in the real world. And lastly, they're debit cards as well. There are companies out there that have debit cards attached to crypto wallets, and a man or a woman can simply go into Starbucks, use their crypto holding to buy a coffee. You know, this is happening here and now, every single day. You know, how the system works for most blockchain payments companies, it's very, very simple. For a business-to-business invoice, for example, maybe one of the companies over there, maybe they're a marketing company to a company that holds crypto, potentially to a mining company. The mining company simply opens up the invoice, looks at QR code, scans it from a crypto wallet, and the payment goes through securely, no exposure to any currency fluctuation. You know, this is happening on a daily basis. Yes, some of the B2B companies that are currently using, accepting crypto as a payment method include Onfido, the massive fraud company, 5,000 plus staff, software suppliers such as Sport Radar. You know, we see, as a processor, we enable merchants to accept up to $10 million US on a daily basis. 5 million from other coins such as Bitcoin Cash, and we securely settle that to the merchant in fiat currency, GBP, euros, US dollars, and others as well. You know, one of the clients that I work with is the London BMW dealership. All around London, they're the regional dealership. They sold 3 BMW cars last year, last quarter, I should say, with crypto as a payment method. You know, any of the rich individuals here today that maybe want to buy a BMW, there's your options. The state of Ohio are enabling citizens to settle their taxation bill with cryptocurrency as a payment method. This is a not particularly good photo of me, actually, because there's lots of scaffolding, but on Monday I went to see one of the members in the UK government, and he's talking about maybe we could replicate this in the United Kingdom for council tax. I think it's going to be a longer process, but talks are ongoing. You can fly, if you fly into your next conference in Latvia, the flag carrier for Latvia, Air Baltic, accepts cryptocurrency payments. Again, here and now, not science fiction, but daily commercial reality. Additionally, the Polish flag carrier LOT has in the past accepted cryptocurrency. The Asian airline from Taiwan, Far Asia Travel, accepts cryptocurrency. And some of the major airlines, like Singapore Airlines, are exploring it quite actively. So it's very, very exciting. And with this as a payment method, there are no chargebacks as well, which in a traditional finance ecosystem is quite a pertinent concern. I know these guys quite well. I had a meeting with them in Frankfurt, a company called BitDials. If anyone wants to buy a luxury watch, they sell Omegas, Cartiers, Rolexes, again, accepting cryptocurrency as a primary denomination of currency. You know, last year we saw a bit of a decline in real estate transactions, but the largest purchase of a property that I've been involved in was $6 million US. And again, businesses, individuals are buying properties, they're paying rents with Bitcoin. I mean, the world of fintech and crypto, I believe the circles are very much overlapping, and there are individuals that are helping this and companies. You know, just talking small parts of Microsoft's business accept Bitcoin. Newegg, who are a 5,000 plus American-based hardware company, accepts cryptocurrency for computers. Scan, a company based in the UK, again, are doing significant transaction sizes with people paying in cryptocurrency. It's a brave new world. Gold brokers. We see a lot of transactions from gold brokers. I mean, our research and our conversations with these clients to highlight the fact that the crypto trading and the gold investment ecosystems are quite closely related, whether it's an investment in gold or a hedge against cryptocurrency as an alternative potentially to stable coins. It's very, very interesting. This merchant up here, Sharps Pixley, is, if anyone's in London, it's right next to the Ritz. There's a street called Jermyn Street, and they've got the Ritz Hotel in Green Park. And you can walk in, and if you hold a crypto wallet as a point-of-sale device, you can purchase some gold. You know, obvious ones that people probably already think about: video games, gambling. You know, these industries are actively accepting cryptocurrency. Pinnacle Sports are a very large Maltese licensed gambling merchant, and one of the largest ones out there, actually. Skin Baron's one of the clients that I have exposure to in the video game side. I mean, I personally don't do much in the way of online video gaming, but they enable people to go online and purchase virtual assets, you know, like virtual armor and swords and guns. It's fascinating. And they're doing daily loads and loads of transactions. Really cool. You know, the future, I mean, I'm not Nostradamus, so I'm not going to make too many predictions, but certainly we're seeing more and more acceptance of blockchain payments as just a traditional, viable, alternative payment method. Some of the fintech connections I talked about earlier on, they have gateways, they have cashiers. You know, if you build a website, you can, if you use WordPress, you can get a WooCommerce cashier. There's Shopify, Magento, and simply on the cashier they have credit cards, and then you have the alternative payment methods. You've got PayPal, SoFort, Trustly, P24, and our belief, and my belief personally, is that cryptocurrency can be seen as another alternative payment method. And the other logical conclusion is that, and certainly from the conversations that I'm having as a person that manages a lot of the partnership relationships with our payment service providers, connected banks and other entities, that there'll be more and more integration with the traditional world of fintech. And it's been a real pleasure speaking to you all today. As I say, it's not my intention to come up here and sell an individual business or anything, but I'll be happy to speak afterwards. My email address is up there, so please do send me a connection request if you wish to. And that's it.
Chris,
thank you.
Please. So guys, last 4 presentations were about interesting things like social businesses and its effects, business to business, disrupting the economic system. And now I would like to tell you just a few things about, you know, the human being. I mean, how the human being can be described, the history of human being. The history has a cyclical nature of itself, and we know that they are waves, and in mathematics we call those waves you know, sinusoid, like the graph. So I'm proudly inviting on the stage Mr. ELIRAN LEVY, who will tell us about the algorithms, about the waves, and about the importance of prediction. Some of you maybe who are trading with bitcoins or cryptocurrencies or meant to do this before are definitely must be interested in waves and algorithms. So please come on stage and tell us about the AlgoWave, the project that will help us all to earn more money and to predict the future. Staying here? Okay.
See?
Good luck.
Thank you. I remember December 22nd, 2017, when I came into our firm at the morning. My brother was approaching me He was very excited, came towards me, and the thing that he told me about trading cryptocurrency have changed the way I trade cryptocurrency forever. At that day, by the way, Bitcoin price fell from $15,000 into $10,000 in one day. It started the attack of the bear on the entire cryptocurrency market. And here is where all 2018 was, this bearish market. And we were thinking about, we are true blockchain believers, and we know that this industry is the future of the economic world, and we knew that there were tokens and coins around this world that are making huge percentage every day, and we looked for a way, how can we make profits using those tokens? So how many of you are consider themselves as crypto traders? Please raise your hands. I hear a few. What's a day in a crypto trader life? First of all, there are right now 2,086 coins and tokens from all around the world. They're spread out in 241 exchanges with a market cap of $135 billion, something that was actually, a year ago, $250 billion, $250 billion. This market has lost $100 billion due to a lot of scamming, unsuccessful ICOs, and the investor just flee out. In order to start making profits with cryptocurrency market, you actually need to have either a successful algorithm, a robot that can scan you all these tokens every day, or a reliable signal system. I want to talk about three popular ways to receive this information. First of all, one of the most popular are Telegram groups, right? Who uses Telegram to have information regarding blockchain? Please raise your hand. Okay, I see a few of you. And the other one is online signals and market analysis from all around the world that you can listen to, follow. And the last one that I'm going to talk about is our own AlgoWave. Let's start with Telegram. Telegram has become very popular in the blockchain industry due to one fact: own account and have many contacts without them knowing who you are and without revealing themselves. There are actually groups that you can see 60,000 people, 25,000 people, and even 230,000 followers of groups in the entire Telegram. And all due to the fact that scammers can open their own groups and just do whatever they want. But you decide to follow one of these groups, and you say, okay, if 60,000 people believe that this token is going to rise, or this coin is going to rise, they probably will be able to move the market. But behind the scene, the admin has some collaboration with his friends, and you buy the tokens. Tomorrow, they dumped, and you're stuck with many coins. And this kind of trades happens every day. You go to another group on Telegram, they're saying this token is about to rise. It's really rising, but they don't tell you, and then bump it on your head. And again, and again, and again. The other way that you can trade cryptocurrency is by following all market analysis all over the internet. There are many of them. You can purchase it. You can just follow. In order to start making money with those market analysis, you need to start understanding technical analysis, and still don't get the specific time when to go in the market and when to cash out. And you need to know these guys are really good. But for example, this guy has 60,000 followers. His name is Magic Poop Cannon. And I'm asking you, do you really want to put your money and risking a cannon of how magical poop it's going to be on your investment, right? Or you can ease with Alan Masters, which is, as somebody who's trading for the last decade, this guy is really good. He knows what he's talking about. But can you generate money on a daily basis from this? I doubt it. Or this guy who is really believing in NEO, but he doesn't never tell you exactly what is the right time to go in and when to cash out. Now I want to show you our own AlgoWave. First of all, AlgoWave is the only software that based all the information on scientific research by MIT University, powered by Endor Company. Endor is led by Professor Alex Pentland and Dr. Yaniv Altshuler. And Alex is just chosen to be one of 7 most powerful data scientists by Forbes. And how is Endor working, actually? Endor have developed artificial intelligence science that allows business, any business in the world, to get a predictive question and to receive fast, accurate answer. Many of them, in order to predict their future, their economic future, they call it social physics. In a nutshell, what is social physics? Social physics is a revolutionary new science which takes big data, passes it through mathematical laws of biology, and gives you a right and accurate prediction. This is science. This is not somebody who's telling you maybe it's going to rise. This is science working for you. Now, Endor's clients are well-known companies like Walmart, Coca-Cola, MasterCard, and Amazon. Those companies are actually asking for Endor to predict their future economic situation due to the big data that they receive from their clients. Actually, Endor were, Dr. Yaniv Altshuler and Professor Pentland were just invited in January to the European Economic Forum in Davos to hear their opinion regarding the future of blockchain. So AlgoWave, empowered by Endor, is producing every day predictions regarding the cryptocurrency market. Meaning, we take the big data of blockchain, we pass it through the social physics of Endor, and every day you get 10 tokens that are about to rise within the 7 days. 10 tokens out of all the 2,086 that I previously talked about. How can you make money out of using AlgoWave application? First of all, every day at 9 o'clock, the algorithm produces this prediction. As you can see, this prediction started at the 15th of February and expired at the 22nd of February. The algorithm is announced in 9 in the morning, Eastern European time. And its prediction gets from 5 to 25% profit. Now, I know many of you are so skeptic because this industry is led by many scammers and profiteers for the past year, which influenced the blockchain industry. But this is different, and I'm going to show you how. How do you make money out of AlgoWave algorithm? First of all, you need to check if those tokens, which one of them is in your exchange. How many people here manage more than one exchange account? I know that I manage 3. Okay. By the way, there were less traders before, and now I see more hands now. It's growing within the lecture. It's nice. So, so you check if one of those tokens are in your exchange. Next, you check if there's a volume of $500,000 per 24 hours. Why? Because volatility is very important. And once you see that this side to trade on, it has volatility of at least $500,000. Then you buy the coin immediately. You place a take profit or a sell 5% above, and you've made your profit for the day. I want to show you an example. Here's prediction, that previous prediction I showed you. I choose BNB. BNB is Binance token. And I'm going to CoinMarketCap, checking which of my accounts has BNB. Of course, Binance has BNB. It's their token. I check if it's above 500,000. This is way above 500,000. This is the chart. That's the beginning of the day. The beginning of the day, the price is 24,383. 5% above is 25,602. I buy the token at the beginning of the day when I got the prediction, and I sell it on 25,602. And as you can see, the price actually reached a little higher than this price, but I'm out of the trade, made 5%. That's a true trade. Now I want to show you, I know that many of you here have wallets with half a Bitcoin, 3 Bitcoin, 10 Bitcoins. They're saying, okay, I'm not touching this. I'm waiting for the big rise, and then I'm cashing out with break even or a little change. And this is why I want to show this to you, because between 5 to 25%, I personally want to share with you that I'm making 20% per month. This is my achievement for the past month. So for all your skeptics that feel, yes, this is our statistics. 80% of the tokens that AlgoWave generates makes 5%. This is statistics. It checked for the past 4 months, and this is what it generates, our algorithm. Here are some successes for the past 2 weeks. This is a prediction. You can see it was announced on February 13, and it's expired on February 20. Let's take Poly, 20%. This prediction is from the February 19, expired on 26. Vibe, 25%. Let OMG, 17%. And BAT, from actually 3 days ago, made an amazing 50% increase. Now, of course, anybody who really makes a risk. Now, last night in my hotel, I looked for accurate from yesterday to show you a live one, okay? If you all join me on yesterday's trade, what would happen? This is the prediction. You see, 28th of February. It's good till the right fast the tokens, because you got a free prediction. I took ENG on my Binance, okay? Easy. I started with ENG on the entry price. I put 5% above, and I'm out of the trade from yesterday with 5% above. This is live, okay? Last night. To summarize what I said, when you really want to generate money on a daily basis using scientific research and artificial intelligence that will work for you in a very, very low risk, I invite you to download our application and become one of our daily successful clients. that are making really nice percents every day, growing and growing. I want to share with you a little clip that we have. We have the sound?
If you could choose which of these three you would have by your side when you are trading, which one would it be? Luck, science, or intuition? If you chose science, you are smart. Because unlike the other two, science deals with facts. We at AlgoWave know that if you want to be successful in cryptocurrency trading, you need to employ who will predict what is about to happen in the market. And this is why we choose the best scientists in the world for this mission. AlgoWave is proud to announce a collaboration with Endor, the company which makes artificial intelligence prediction accessible to everyone. Powered by the MIT University Novel Social Physics Technology and massive compute power, Endor enables business users to ask predictive questions in plain language and get accurate automated predictions. And now Endor is becoming the primary predictor of the AlgoWave application. Endor is the world's first prediction protocol, enabling an ecosystem that provides automated, accurate predictions. Is right in the palm of your hand. Yes, Endor's prediction protocol that some of the largest companies in the world, such as Coca-Cola, Walmart, and MasterCard, are using, is the artificial intelligence algorithm that stands behind AlgoWave. And now you have the chance to use it too. Make science work for you in your trades. Download AlgoWave now.
Take any questions regarding AlgoWave and how to work with the application. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, guys, so I guess you were inspired by AlgoWave algorithms and idea how you can become more rich predicting the future or getting this golden key to the future. And getting back to some things that were told before about the social entrepreneurship and blockchain, idea that I think leads to success is the sustainability. So now I'm proud to represent Mr. Marcos Benítez Rubianes on the stage, who will tell us about blockchain for sustainable development. Without sustainability, I guess there would not be any success. Yeah. So please tell us.
There is no future.
Tell us the secret of sustainability.
Thank you. I guess I'm missing the presentation here. Just that's not okay. So it's good that Rufus spoke before, because now we have a nice presentation of what can be done with blockchain for social development. I think it's a nice picture because it represents the whole society, technology, the people, and at the very end, what we care about is people. So it's great. We have a lot of technology. We are going even further. But why do we create technology if not to apply science to improve the life of people? And just thinking about it, what is happening right now in the 21st century, I think this phrase, which some people attribute to Einstein, but actually I did my research, and it's not. It says that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So this aligns with what Rufus said. So we have so many issues right now, but we keep applying the same solutions or try to apply the same solutions, but it doesn't work. So how can we actually look for something new and apply this new solution to the current problems? So let me ask you, how many of you have a normal bank account? Can you raise your hand? How many of you have a crypto wallet? Good. So, and this is the last one. How many of you have a crypto bank account. So yeah, I see just one. So I think in the first world it's quite normal that yeah, we all have bank accounts, we get paid there, it's great, we can access via e-banking. But what is happening in the rest of the world? So we have this the latest data. We have around 1.7 billion people worldwide, which is still unbanked in the 21st century. Internet and so on. So, but still, many people doesn't have this, I would say, kind of privilege that we all have here. I come originally from Latin America, so Latin America is doing quite well in that sense. You can see these red dots are actually the representation of how many people in each country lack a bank account. As you can see, the largest are in Asia and in Africa, of course. And why is it important to have a bank account? And I talked there about more financial inclusion. So this means to be part of the society, to be part of these systems that, you know, the capitalist system that allows you to buy, sell, to invest. And most important of everything is to save money. Because without savings, you rely on hard cash. Without a bank account, you rely on hard cash. You are, let's think about a rural person in Brazil which works in the field and doesn't have anywhere else rather than the mattress to live his money, or her money. So you're exposed to a lot of risk. So you're exposed to inflation, you're exposed to the risk of the security part, because as you know, you go working and then maybe someone broke in your house and then your hard-earned money is not there anymore. For us it's great because we have these debit cards that we can, if someone takes our debit card, they cannot withdraw more than maybe 1,000, 2,000, have this solution. So that means also that they don't have access to loans for any kind of productive activity, and they don't have a chance to invest in their future. So it's good. We were talking recently about algo trade and how you can participate in this market, but well, if you don't have a bank account that you can transfer your money to this app, there will be no investment for you. The problem doesn't stop there, because as Rufus mentioned, there is a new threat for society and for employment. The challenges that we have in the 21st century are quite a lot, not only climate change, but on the technology level, we are facing artificial intelligence, automation, digitization, and big data. All this together will actually change the world. We expect that for good, but actually will create millions of new unemployed worldwide. So if we think how we're going to incorporate these people from developing countries to the economy, great. Maybe we're gonna be able to bank them all, not in the bank, but maybe with a blockchain solution. But how are they gonna earn money if we are actually tearing apart many of these jobs? So the poverty is gonna be even harder to fight. That's my perspective. So I think the UN is great that in 2017 they put these 17 social development goals. Number one is to reduce poverty, and that's what we are trying to do. But we are at the same time empower people to make it more poor. So and the preparation for this new war will be just for few. So if we think about in other industrial revolutions in the past, there were a lot of employments that were destroyed by the new technology, so let's think in the Industrial Revolution, but some other new jobs were created. So technology was applied for the workforce to replace, like, you know, your strength. Instead of a hammer, you had a machine, and this machine will do it much better, much faster, great. But there will be still someone doing the intellectual job. But in this new era, we're going to be replaced because, as on the last presentation, algorithms can do it much better than us. They are faster, they don't fail, They don't need to sleep. They don't need to to have coffee to come back and, after lunch and keep working. So, yeah, I think every one of us here that I will assume we are educated, we are entrepreneurs, and we do a lot of intellectual job. We're going to be facing challenges in the next 15 to 20 years, and most of all, our kids. So I consider that in this start of the new century, we are facing a make it or break it situation. So we have immense opportunities. We have solved many, many problems. For example, nowadays, more people die of obesity rather than hunger. Then also we have more people dying from accidents than of violent situations like war or even terrorist attacks. We're going to face the issues of digitization and automation. So, and then we go on why blockchain? With all these problems that I just mentioned, or opportunities, what can provide to solve or at least palliate these issues? And why blockchain? And so this is more like a theoretical support of what Rufus was saying, and all these people that right now is working on blockchain for social development. To me, it's really important the part of democratization, because without democracy, there is no sustainability and there is no working, functional society. The moment we leave more and more people out of the financial inclusion and out of the circle of value creation, the more people that is going to be really, really impoverished, and it's going to turn in the next years probably to riots and more financial crisis, more migration, and even like kind of being a little bit extreme, civil war. Because if we also have the issue that the society is aging, and the social state of welfare will fail eventually. Because if now we have hundreds of companies working on machines that are better than us, and the people doesn't have a job, how are we going to sustain social security? So why is in the system that the people can participate in the state and be a part of it? That's why decentralization is so important. I believe that the states will probably fail in the future to provide this solution, also as large NGOs or governmental institutions or large institutions like just to name the most famous, the United Nations. So we were talking about insanity, applying the same solutions, and we don't get anywhere. So the UN is there, right? It's a big apparatus of bureaucracy that is not working because, it's just simply too big, and they cannot be everywhere anytime when we need them. So this is a typical diagram that you will see on the internet about from Paul Baran, which made a lot of contributions to the internet back in the days. So as you can see, decentralized is failing, decentralized system is failing, decentralized is what we are achieving right now with blockchain, and the best one is going to be distributed. So everyone will have a say, everyone will be able to participate in this system without asking permission to any governmental authority or entity. So of course, there will be a lot of things that will still run through the government, but I think that with decentralization, what we give is we can empower people. So they can have a say, they can participate, they can join, let's say, a tool where you can sell your work, for example, to any place in the world without having to go through the bureaucracy of setting up a company and then paying taxes in your country and the other country. It can work quite automated, and that's going to be one of the solutions to all the problems we are facing. Something that I think is key is the trust. So as we know, we mention trust in almost every conference about blockchain. And this map here is the democracy index of 2018, so it's quite updated. So the greener it is the better, of course, and the more tending to red is the lack of trust and democracy. it's funny because when I think about why do we need blockchain, we need blockchain actually in the developing countries. We don't need it here in Europe because we trust the counterparty. For example, in Switzerland, where I'm living, you just go buy something and you can ask the teller to send you an invoice to your home. And they rely that you will pay it because they trust you. So the system works. But if you think on this map and you look at it and just position yourself when you're traveling. So in this map, probably you're going to agree with me that the places where there is a lack of democracy are the places where when you travel, you feel most insecure and you don't trust the counterparty. And that doesn't happen only to you as a tourist, but it happens between themselves. So blockchain can solve this because, and I tend to say public blockchain and open blockchain. I'm not talking about Hyperledger Fabric and these corporate solutions, which are great, but I believe that in the long term they're gonna fail because actually they are not providing anything better than what we currently have. It's just more like an improved data server and sharing of information in a ledger. So in this case, I believe a public blockchain will solve this because when we're gonna go to, let's say, Brazil, which is not that bad on democracy, but when you think about the trust between people, it's quite bad. So there is a lot of corruption. Everybody will try to shortcut you. So, and that's quite serious. And if we want a working economy, we need to have trust. Without trust, there is no social cohesion, and there is no democracy. So as you see, all these points are actually quite interconnected. So what I believe is that blockchain will be kind of like the new social contract. I'm expecting to see someone writing about that. I haven't seen it. So if we go back to the 18th century, we remember all these the Illuminaires that were talking about why do we work. Why do we live in a society? How do we interact with each other? And why do we give part of our power to a central authority, the government? So because the government provides us security, give us the state of law, the status quo, so we can trust that we can live there, and everybody will respect the status quo and the law. We'll be a law-abiding citizen. So now everything is changing. So we need a new social contract. And I think the best solution is going to be blockchain. So we can write a new social contract, as the French intellectuals did back then, probably based on what Satoshi was talking. But we're gonna improve it, and we're gonna talk about the social part, the social development part of blockchain, and how we can now be sure that everything that will happen in the world is transparent. And we can rely that the information there hasn't been modified by anyone. So just talking about that use case, why don't we ask the government to, for example, put their salaries on the blockchain, on a crypto to fiat simple transaction, then we can see how much they get, and what do they do actually with the money, or if they get any kind of kickback payment, or when there is a tender and the government is hiring, is contracting with a company, why don't we ask them to be transparent and show us that the money actually is going there and what is happening? Because a lot of the issues with corruption happen because there is a dark place where you can have negotiation, that you can send money, you can pass some cash, and that's it. So now I'm gonna just jump quickly to a couple of use cases that I came to know because of my work in I didn't mention, but I'm the co-founder of the Crypto World Souk Association in Switzerland, which is a small non-for-profit association. And my focus there as a general secretary is to work on creating bridges with developing countries to kind of transmit the know-how that we have in Switzerland with blockchain, and how well I mean, the rule of law is quite good there, and there are a lot of innovation in the regulation. So my focus is to transmit part of this know-how to these other countries, and that they can come to Switzerland and even have like a kind of a roadshow with us, and then maybe get to know some investors, because many of these countries, in even Latin America, it's really hard for them for let's say, a startup that is doing a great job to just take, I don't know, 5K and fly to Europe and see if something good happens there and if they can get more money. So that's how I got to know these companies. The first one is Idonic. And Idonic is, as it says in the first 3 letters, is about aid. So Severius, which is the founder and CEO of this company, has a really interesting story. So he has been working in an NGO since 7 years, supporting refugee camps, and because there was a necessity. The necessity was that Severius is part of one of the oldest Christian sects in the world, which is the Aramaic. And is, as you can imagine, is like really a minority. So what happened when there is a war, there are refugees, and they are all put together in the same space of a few square kilometers, and you have to share your tent with someone that is kind of your religious enemy. So the Aramaic were under a lot of pressure, and they had this issue that even the NGOs couldn't get to them because the rest of the refugee camp will block the support of them, or let's say, they will bully them because they were not maybe Muslim believers. So because of that, he came with this solution that is providing a direct link between the donor and the beneficiary. So it's good to mention this, no? According to the UN, to reach the SDGs defined for 2030, is needed 5 to 7 trillion in annual investment. And here is, of course, both private and public. So part of this budget is given by governments. And out of this, we are talking that just $600 billion are raised for aid via donation. And the big problem that there is, aside of the particular problem that the Aramaic community had, is that if we think about, do you want to donate? You will say, everybody probably will say yes, maybe a small fee, but still, you want to support a good cause. But if you ask me personally why I don't do it often, I would tell you that, for example, in Europe, there is so much bureaucracy, and the apparatus that these companies have to have, or the NGOs, to sustain themselves is really big. So just think about how much is the salary of the directors in Europe for one of these NGOs. Just think about Greenpeace being in the Netherlands, and how much do they have to pay for the marketing to sustain themselves. So actually, whatever you donate, probably around 40% of that will actually get to the final beneficiary, or to the cause that you actually want to support. The rest is just for sustaining the organization. Part of the problem is overhead, mismanagement, corruption, and fraud. And the problem with corruption and fraud doesn't happen, we expect, on the top management, but rather in the last mile of the donation. So when you are about to give the money to whoever is needing it the most, there will be someone tricking the system and taking the money for themselves. So just think about a tender who is supposed to give these social aid bags with maybe medicaments or food, but maybe will open and just take it for themselves, or then resell it in the black market, so to those who can pay for that. So Severius and Idonic are implementing this system where you can make a peer-to-peer donation, and through the Idonic token. So the beneficiary will have, of course, a cell phone with the application, and then with a QR code, and we receive the money directly. The good thing is that there will be, of course, the support of the NGO in the place to be like the project manager. So they will make sure that everything is working. But everything is transparent, as I was saying. We can trust in the system because it's a blockchain system, it's transparent, it's public, and it's open. And then the beneficiary will go directly to the provider, to the teller, or to the grocery store in the place, or let's say the place where you can pick up or exchange this money for the actual donation. So you have a track record of how did they use this money. The good thing also about Idonic is that it's not only for refugee camps. So they created this platform where you have kind of, let's think about kind of a Kickstarter or a crowdfunding platform where every NGO can advertise without paying anything their own campaign. So, which is great because they will save money in this, so there will be less money spent in marketing. So if you want to support this case, just check it out online. The name is Idonic, and I strongly support. Just in case I have no link as employee or supporter of this project. It's also my state that I want to actually to keep to know to people worthy projects so they can support it, but without being my own project, which I'm not talking about today. Another project, I met Taina. Taina Reis is the CEO of this Brazilian company. I met her during October last year in Geneva at the UN. There was this event from the World Investment Forum, and they had one day for blockchain for social development, and I met the project Moeda. Moeda means coins in Portuguese, and as you can see, it has the feminine sign here because Moeda is focused on empowering women in rural areas in Brazil through the support through blockchain and cryptocurrencies for their own projects. So we are talking about small familiar companies or small entrepreneurs which are women and need the support of some capital to keep growing. So, and that comes back to the democratization of access to capital. Now you have to go through a bank, you have to go through a broker, or you have to pay a lot of fees to get some capital in the capital market. But with blockchain, we have the possibility to either donate, to help these people be a peer-to-peer lending platform, or we can use solutions like Moeda. What Moeda does, as it says, it's a peer-to-peer entrepreneurial crowdfunding platform. It has the support of the Brazilian government, which is a lot to say, because as you may think, they are not that open to this kind of solutions, not now. And they do a small-scale platform to help these entrepreneurs with the contributors. So the previous project, we were talking about donors and the beneficiaries, and in this case, it's not about donate, but it's about contribution for their own entrepreneurial spirit and to help them actually to get out of the poverty cycle. So once you donate, you contribute in this platform, Moeda does a full following of the project to make sure that these funds are applied properly and help them also to scale the business, and actually is working really, really well. As you can see, there are a couple of, there is a screenshot of some of the projects that you can support, for example, sustainable coffee, and then there you have another rural project, and then also community production. So these are the kind of projects you can find there. So this is the practical, and these are two use cases which are actually making a difference right now. So that's the thing, we are not talking about projects that are just a white paper, but rather real use cases and the real application of blockchain live in the real world that is making a difference for many people. To me, this is a solution that we have to all the problems that I mentioned before. So there is no way we can overcome poverty without giving access to everyone, everywhere, and without barriers, or without asking anyone. So these are my contact data, so you can find me either in Twitter, via mail. Unfortunately, it looks like the format changed, so actually this will be CryptoWorldSouk.io. This O doesn't go there, so, and then this is actually my Telegram. So thank you very much.
we strive for sustainability. Don't
Exactly.
forget that. Don't forget that, guys.
If you want to know more about some projects and how you can support us in the Crypto World Souk Association,
This is
come
the
to me
man
later.
that you should start with all your investments, because if he says about transparency and sustainability, I definitely believe that this is the best way to start in blockchain. And now I want to represent the group of speakers who will talk about very interesting things like ICOs and STOs, ICO versus STO, and Bruce Porter will moderate this panel. Bruce, come on. So enjoy, good luck, and we want to know the truth. What's better, ICOs or STOs?
Am I live? I'm live now. Hey,
Yeah.
how about this guy? Hasn't he been doing a great job? He really has been doing a good. Awesome. So yeah, we're going to talk about ICOs and we're going to talk about STOs, and you know how it is. It's kind of funny, right? We have the STO
Good luck.
now, and everyone's a little bit gun shy from the ICO. So I have a bunch of guys here that are smarter than me, and they're going to help us talk about it here. Please welcome to the stage Ishmael Malik. Give him a hand, folks.
Second.
Stephen Byer.
Ooh.
Not sure. Max Cops. Max and I were just trading stories from all over the world. Off stage there. Good to meet you, buddy. And is Valentin here? Is Valentin in the room? In the building? Okay, so we're good. All right, so I'm going to try to talk directly into this thing. Who's mic'd up? You two are mic'd up. Everyone's mic'd up.
Yeah.
Perfect. All the mics are on?
Yes, yes.
Ishmael?
Check,
Okay.
check, check, yeah.
All right, so I think we have a bit of a, I don't know if funny is the right word, but kind of, it seems to me, this situation with the ICO, which so many people got burned in over the last year, or year and a half, and now we have this STO, which is this legal framework to bring people in. Now, in America, nobody has been able to touch an ICO. It's like one of these things, and we have this vast, really base of investors that really haven't touched anything, and everybody, I think, is holding their breath that the ICO is going to be the savior and bring all of this money to the forefront. So let's just start a little bit. Maybe we'll start right here with Max. You can just give your name, a little bit of what you do, and then kind of what you think the STO will do this year.
Yes, thank you very much. So I've been in the space since 2013, and I've been mainly focusing on ICOs as an investor and as an analyst, helping projects to actually do their fundraising. So diving into STOs more since a year now, I can really compare it. And starting with a story how ICOs started is really interesting, because ICOs at the beginning were really focused on blockchain startups. So they were all connected to one single technology that they all had in place as their business model or their value proposition. And what's different to STOs is that STO, for me, is not a kind of a startup, it's just the technology behind. It's the way of giving out shares, it's the way of giving out equity, it's the way of giving out debt or something. It's like a back product of the financial system. So you can't really compare. Like the ICO market is really focused on one single niche, while the STO market is just the technology behind it could be adapted everywhere.
Interesting. How about you, Stefan?
Okay, yeah, I'm the CEO and co-founder of Cryptronics, which is a blockchain consultant company, and we look at ICOs and STOs from a technology point of view and also from a cybersecurity point of view. So I think there are two ways of looking at all this space. There's the conceptual space, and I think there's obviously a difference between a security token and an ICO. And there's also a technological difference. I think STOs, you know, they give you equity to some point, they give you some rights in the company. And that means at the technological level, you can do very interesting things. And I think this year, in 2019, we'll see new types of STOs emerging, where you actually do stuff with smart contracts and participate in a company. And I think that would be really nice to see.
Okay. Ishmael Malik, been in the space for a few years. I also run a publication called ICO Crowd, so fairly familiar with the ICO space. So ICOs essentially were a better mechanism, replacing crowdfunding for the crypto age, right? So if you had a blockchain startup, why would you go and use this antiquated, relatively sort of, 5-year-old tech for crowdfunding? It had a lot of inefficiency, waste. So ICOs were a much more direct method that replaced crowdfunding. In respect to, there's a lot of talk that a lot of ICOs failed. Well, the general consensus is that 90 to 95% of startups fail per se, right? That is the whole ecosystem of tech, right? It has a high failure rate, only a small succeed. So on that metric, overall, I think ICOs have been pretty healthy, right? So it depends on whether you look at the glass, half empty or half full, right? So in respect to STOs, what you had is a lot more companies moving into the tech space, the ICO space, wanting to do an offering, but really what became known as the useless utility token, right? Their actual utility, the token value of what they were delivering was very nominal, right? So in fact, the user was left with something that had very low value. So STOs are kind of a panacea, kind of a rectifying this fundamental problem that if you got to raise funds and you were driving your project to forcefully have a token, and in fact creating a useless token, then you're better off giving equity, right? So if the upside's in equity, then the investor should get the upside, and hence the rise of the STO.
Yeah, it is interesting, and I know you brought it up. I've said it on stage quite a bit, that most startups fail. And yes, it's true. Most of the 90-something% of the ICOs failed, but that is across the board in new startups. So we're not really out of the realm of possibility. It's just interesting because, in my home country, we've really not been able to participate in this market. And with the STO, it's heralded, it's being heralded as the answer. So with owning a platform like that, how many, so what are you looking at for STOs? Do you have STOs currently running?
So we've been a little reticent on launching STOs. I went and met a pretty prominent legal firm, and I was like, okay, we're going to run ahead with these STOs, and they called me in and said, look, we've got to seriously tell you that you're falling in the realm of criminal law here, right? So, if you get this wrong, you land in a jurisdiction, you go to jail, right? And then you get bailed out, right? If you're lucky.
If you're lucky.
Right, so you're not, you can't take this lightly, right? So, the securities regulations in 98% of countries globally have a criminal sanction if they're not followed, right? So, we're not in happy land, right? ICOs were largely very happy land, go fun, go party, go raise money, go produce some good tech.
Lambo.
Having said that, you've got jurisdictions. I was recently in Bermuda, so we've got some good stuff coming out of Bermuda. We've been recently spending some time with the Maltese. We've got some good regulations coming in. So you've got a lot of these sort of what we call frontier states, small states, island states that are sort of innovating. So once you've got the framework there, and you've got a product that essentially there's a, so why do an STO is really the question, right? If you can go and just raise, STOs should essentially provide secondary liquidity. So if you buy into a startup, so I don't know how many have bought into a startup here, but co-founders come and they say, look, I've got this exciting vision, I'm going to do this, we're going to have great turnover, revenue, and then you're stuck. You've got 20% of something that you can't do anything with, right? It just sits there and the founders keep burning money, and then you're in this endless cycle. Do you keep funding it more? Do you pull out? Do you cut your losses? Because you've got equity there, you can't do anything with that equity because there's no secondary market. So STOs are essentially, the key sort of, I would say the number one strike point or factor that's enticing an investor is that you've got access to secondary liquidity. However, you've got this sunset or you've got this window period or however you want to call it, a lockout period where you cannot put STO tokens onto a secondary market. So I think we're really going to have a kickoff when the Seychelles or the Caymans or one of these frontier states says you can do an STO and you can immediately list it on a secondary market, right? So when you have an STO with immediate secondary liquidity, then it's game on, right? Then you're going to see some pretty explosive growth. So until then, you still got this startup dilemma where you've got these tokens in some sort of startup, but you can't do anything for X period. Having said that, it depends on, what are you looking at. The period, window periods are sort of 3 months, 6 months, 9, 12, right?
I think in the US it's a year. You got to hold them for a year. Why and I think there's also some, so if you're an accredited investor, you don't have to hold them, but if you aren't, then you do, or something like that. So it's really just, it seems like we're still wading through the regulations where people are going to be interested in doing.
I mean, you're going to see an STO value, like you had Crypto Valley in Zug. You're going to see some type of STO island, some type of government come out, and then everything, and then you get. So don't forget, governments have FOMO also, right? So when a government sees another state accelerating, they're going to have fear of missing out in this new tech revolution. And that is going to be the catalyst for the others to push out and allow secondary liquidity on STO markets.
I think the point you mentioned regarding the legal requirements that many ICOs missed out, or still missing out, is really important because I asked myself, what's the reason for doing that? And I think that, I think the reason is that every ICO did their own fundraising. So they did their own ICO platform, they did their own white paper without any external help, and they tried to build the whole structure by themselves. Yeah. And why was it? Because many ICOs had the business model of an ICO. Yeah. While an STO cannot be an STO with a business model of an STO. It's not for its own purpose. I mean, many ICOs build a platform or a decentralized protocol, and that profit was based on the tokens they handed out to the team or the ICO funds raised, which were partly given to the team as an incentivation. While an STO is just a matter of finance. So what I believe in is that STOs anyway are the right approach for most of the companies. And regarding the legal things you mentioned, it's also important that it is very different in STOs than in ICOs, because what most of the ICOs did by themselves, STOs shouldn't, in my opinion. Because speaking about the secondary market listing you were also mentioning, this is an important fact. If every ICO is doing that by themselves, it takes a lot of time, it's really unstructured. So my expectation for 2019 and especially the end of 2019 or 2020 is that there will be platforms, there will be key players, there will be stakeholders that you can just put together, and they will build up the structure. And it's not a job of the project, it's not a job of the startup nor the corporate to do any of that, because they should focus on their product and their main business.
Yeah, I would agree with this, and I'd even go a bit further. You said ICOs had their own business plan, or at the ICO was their business plan. I'd argue most ICOs didn't really have what would traditionally be called the business plan. And doing an STO sort of forces you to think a bit about how much do you want to raise, how much can you raise, how much makes legally sense to raise and to hold. I mean, there's ICOs that raised ridiculous amounts of money. And I mean, EOS, they claim to have raised $4 billion, something like this, which is debatable, but you know, do you need $4 billion to build a blockchain? I don't think so. So if you are to explain this to a traditional investor or to a regulator, then you know, how do you defend a business plan like this? I think that's an important point.
I just want to add a bit of wind to the caution here. So there is this perception that when you raise 20 million, that's a lot of money. You know, a good blockchain engineer is costing about 250K a year, right? So in terms of actually rolling out product, having a sustainable timeline, it's a pretty expensive duty, right? EOS, let's just say $2 billion. If you want to build an entire ecosystem, global ecosystem, distributed with hundreds of apps, you know, trying to create a sort of a DApp store of the Apple App Store, it's going to take you a couple of billion, right? You know, this stuff, this idea that you can get stuff done on the cheap doesn't work, because only the best engineers move across and become blockchain engineers, and as a result, they charge a significant amount of money. So, you know, you get a team of 20 engineers at 250K each, you've got a significant burn rate, right? So, you know, it's the other thing. You know, my opinion is that ICOs didn't raise enough money, right? To actually have the long-term 3 to 4 year vision to deliver a product. So we often can get caught up in the media hype of what outsiders are trying to tell us about the industry, but when you're in the industry, you realize that you're playing at the top end of tech, and you're having to pay the premium to play at the top end of tech.
So would you argue that ICOs that failed run out of money?
I mean, I'm generally in the consensus that they didn't raise enough to get a 4-year sustainability period to actually start to deliver product, and have a team of, you know, to be able to attract from Amazons or the Microsoft or the Teslas or some of this leading tech talent at the rates you've got to pay. I mean, I was in San Francisco, you know, I had to pay, you know, we were asked to pay sort of $500,000 golden handshake to take a couple of Google engineers we needed, right? So, you know, the sums in tech are significant, right? Because the actual people in the full stack, core tech is really limited, right? So it depends, right? You know, so a lot of people smash the sort of San Francisco model and don't understand why there's so much money raised. And well, there's a reason why the US has so many unicorns and the Europe has relatively few, right?
Well, I think what it definitely has the potential to do is open up a lot more money. I mean, that's really what you're looking at. You're going to have guys, because part of the STO, if you do an STO at this point, you're opening yourself up to all types of regulations, audits. They're going to look at your books. They're going to want to know, and you're going to have to tell them. Like right now, you do an ICO, and you know, do you need $2 billion, like you said, or where's the money going? Or you don't really have to report that legally. If you do it with an STO, you have to report it, and so it should attract more money into the space. I mean, that's kind of what everyone's thinking, anyhow.
And more money in the space is one of the reasons for diving into this topic. So what I think is that people need to focus on the real advantages that STOs have, and these are the token advantages. So I'd compare it rather to an IPO sometimes than to an ICO. I mean, not depending on the company, of course a startup wouldn't do an IPO, but the process is much more adaptable to an IPO. And the main difference, if you compare it to an IPO, they're really small, they're really, really small, which means you can use it, and it's a technical advancement that you have by going for an STO. But anyway, it's not going to change your business. You're not going to be successful as a startup by just going for an STO. And that's what the hype was about with ICOs in 2017, that people just believe because it's an ICO, it's going to be successful. And what I see now in many conferences on many mainstream media is that STO seems to be the same. So people start believing that just because something is an STO, it's going to be successful. But I think the key players that are going to be successful are the people that are building the infrastructure behind. People like you who are doing the technical parts and who are helping the companies, the startups, to do their funding. And the startups are just based on the product. It's completely, they're two different blocks connected.
So now, are you involved in some STOs at the moment?
Me?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm advising different projects, but mostly in the marketing, so I'm helping them building the structure and defining the token economics somehow.
What projects?
Different ones. I'm not going to name them here because some of them are private, but they're really early stage. Yeah.
How about you, Stefan?
Well, I'm involved in auditing an STO platform right now. So again, looking at the technology behind STOs. I've been previously involved with projects that, even before STO was a word, openly classified their tokens as a security. And there was quite a nice model I liked, which was to have a utility token and a security token. Because there's a difference, a very important difference. And I never understood the model of selling a utility token to investors. Because what an investor wants from a token is for the price to go up. And the user would usually want it to remain relatively stable, or at least not having to think about, do I buy more tokens today to use the platform, or do I wait until tomorrow, where the price might be twice as high?
So, Ismail, is it something that you're getting asked a lot for? Are people approaching you to run their or STOs?
So we are getting significant daily requests, like how do you do an STO? Where's the best jurisdiction to take an STO? What type of startup or what type of company can do an STO? So we're looking at, expanding on that, we're looking at a so we're looking at something called an iSector, which is an initial security exchange and a coin token offering, right? So we don't see ICOs as sort of mutually exclusive. So, you put in a utility token, you put in a token that goes straight onto an exchange or a Binance, and you do a security offering, right? So an iSector would essentially be offering all three. And really, we're a lot more excited about the iSector space in the sense that combined as three factors, you now really got something that we believe is going to challenge the IPO, right? We believe that this is a far more efficient method of gaining users. So we did a lot of ICOs where they really weren't interested in the money. They just wanted to increase their user base, right? So having a coin offering, having a massive airdrop, getting 100,000 users, fantastic, right? Creating immediate secondary liquidity, initial exchange offering, you've seen it in BitTorrent, etc., BTT, fantastic model, right? Letting early adopters or investors come in, take some stake in you, align some interest with key parties, a security token. So when you combine the three, now you're sort of in the realm of like, okay, there's an IPO, there's an iSector, which one do you want to take, right? So I think so a lot of what work we do is we just sort of crash any ideas of these silos, right? I'm doing an ICO, I'm doing this, I'm in this space. No, this is an evolving, fast, rapidly, maturing space, and you can mix, match, and there'll be iterations, and so we believe that triple token offering will be a significant growth area in the late part of 2019, and probably, a significant, if not take up, but at least a significant point of discussion amongst companies doing a fundraise. Because what you've got here is you've got fundraise, traction, and liquidity, right? Something that an IPO doesn't really offer you, right? An IPO doesn't really go and say, okay, we're going to give you 200,000 new users, right? An IPO doesn't really open you up to an initial exchange offering where you could just instantly offer your token globally to a whole set of people who can just go on eventually to decentralized exchanges and acquire your token, right? And an IPO doesn't let you open up to somebody in Bombay or Caracas being able to just buy your security token and feel like they've got an equity in what you have.
So actually, I think a security token can combine the advantages of both, because if you want to include the IPO in the comparison, and I did both comparisons, ICO versus IPO, and ICO versus STO in the book I'm going to write. And what's really interesting is that an IPO actually does have some advantages compared to an ICO. And that sounds weird at the first moment, because most of the people think that ICOs were replacing the IPO, but just think of a utility token as a user. It's much easier to go to a stock exchange and buy a stock of a public company and just have it than to buy a token that's really fluctuating in value first, and second, makes it really hard for the mainstream user to use your platform if he's required to buy this token first at a secondary market and then use it. So in this case,
it's much easier if you're from the Western states, right? So if you're sitting in Bombay or you're sitting in Caracas, it's not very easy to buy a stock and share, right? So this idea that a small set of states are going to control the status quo is dead, right? Like, we're living in a globalized universe, planet, and anyone from anywhere should be able to access whatever instrument, right? So and an IPO, I've gone through the process, right? You have to go and get an introducing broker, you have to go and, it's pretty corrupt, right? You have to sort of deal with several banks and underwriters, and it's a very old-fashioned, convoluted route, right? So it's kind of, STOs and, as we believe, the combined offerings are going to just take out all these inefficiencies and problems that have built into the IPO stack over the sort of last 20 years.
Yes, but I think there was a point in what you said regarding a technological barrier, if I'm correct. I mean, utility tokens do have a usability problem, and that goes beyond if it's an STO, an ICO, or however you funded your project. If you have to use a platform with a utility token, as a user you're asked to buy some Ethereum, exchange it for a token, install some plugin in the browser, and always keep some Ethereum and some Ether in your wallet to be able to pay the gas. And that puts off a lot of people, so that's got nothing to do with whether an STO is better than an ICO, but that's a problem we have to resolve in general regarding blockchain projects. And getting traditional funding or doing an STO and not having a utility token might help with this as well. I don't know if you were referring to this.
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly. That's a question of currency as well, because ICOs, they basically do nothing else than giving out a currency for one specific purpose. So I used to explain ICOs with an example of a cinema. So suppose you want to build a cinema, and if you go for an ICO, you'll probably sell a cinema ticket that can be used in the future. So you're going to sell it for $1, and if you want to visit the cinema later, it will either cost $5 or one token. So the investor is hoping for an increase of the ticket price for the cinema. While if you go for an STO, you probably just give away equity of the cinema. So in every revenue that you generate with the cinema, the investor gets a share of it. And why did we invent currencies? Currencies exist because we want to have one matter of exchange. We want to have $1 that we can change for whatever we want, and we don't want 200 currencies. So why shall an investor buy a cinema ticket if he wants euros, dollars, or yuan at the end? It doesn't make sense to me. It does make sense for very, very few platforms where utility token makes sense. But speaking about the fundraising and especially institutional investors, this is a technological barrier that's coming on top as well. So summing it up a bit, the comparison of ICOs and STOs, from my perspective, is definitely that STOs are going to replace most of the ICOs, which will lead to scams popping out a bit of the market because it's much more regulated. It will be a lot of different stakeholders. They will be licensed, regulated, and the process will be much more organized, so projects will stop doing everything by themselves. There will be specific stakeholders you always have to include. And as you mentioned, Ismail, comparing it to IPOs, you mentioned that it's going to shake up the process, it's going to kick out some people. I don't believe that it will completely change the model, but it will kick out some inefficiencies that definitely stacked up. And that's why I believe that in 99% of the cases, an STO is the right way to go.
Interesting. It will be, I think if we get this, or when we get this big spike that I think we will get, and Bo Paulney agrees, right? Yesterday, go long Litecoin. You see Litecoin's up today, right? I switched so much of my crypto into Litecoin recently. But anyway, the point is, I do see it being a big success. I have this type of feeling myself with the STOs. So also now I wanted to ask you, because you're in Estonia, Stefan, about, so it's the legal framework that they're using for these STOs. Is it correct that it's basically the same thing throughout these countries? Is Estonia the same as Malta and the US, and is as it's being advertised to everybody?
Yeah, well, I'm physically in Spain actually, but I have a legal presence as well in Estonia. There's certainly interesting legal frameworks in some of these countries coming in. I'm not an expert. I'm not an expert on the legal side, but it does help that countries like Malta, Singapore, and there's some others try to bring in regulation of this. This is cutting out, but I'm an expert on legislations.
So why don't we, let's circle back, we'll have some closing thoughts, and then go from there. You want to start us off, Ismail?
So, yeah, I mean, look, STOs, people like, so there's this whole scenario that old utility tokens went up and down too much. Guess what? Everywhere I go in the world, everywhere people love risk. People love a bit of volatility. And there's nothing wrong with risk, right? Risk is what creates new ideas, right? If Elon Musk didn't take the risk to say he could launch cheaper into space, he won't have SpaceX where it is today. So, this idea that we're going to create a society that's completely de-risked and it should all be stable and, we shouldn't have these massive fluctuations. Guess what? I'm in the belief, and I'm strongly in the belief, that if we take out too much risk from the system, we're going to get replaced by AI, right? So one of the great things humans can do is start to take calculated risks and play the volatility game, try new ideas, try to take a new turn. So I think the STOs that play it too safe, I just don't see a market for them, right? I just see, just to invest in something that's going to stay stable and do nothing is, why should you be excited by it? It's boring, right? It does offer nothing. I think the STOs that take a significant risk offer something exciting, and alongside that risk is probably the reward. And just rounding it off, that we are not going to see, the space is not going to look like what we imagine it to look like in 24 months' time, right? It is going to be, it may be that everybody sits with their new Samsung and this whole idea of token buying is really difficult, and it's not. It's just going to be a click, and there'll be a number of people around the world, when aggregated, will still want to take a high risk investment in initial exchange offerings or ICOs, and this whole STO sort of hype is just that hype. But that's not to say there will be some STOs that offer something significantly exciting, maybe new CRISPR or something that really challenges it, offers a high upside that take off, right? But this whole idea that we're going to want to live in this completely de-risked, very, very stationary world, I don't buy it, right? So I'm sitting on the other side of the fence. I still think we need risk in the system.
Stefan?
Okay, yeah, I would like to get back to before we close, to the technological advantages of an STO. And I really believe we'll be seeing interesting applications there. You know, if you certainly have equity and you have some rights that are attached to your investment, then I think we'll see the smart contracts going beyond being simple tokens. The investment will be more than just a currency, and you can actually do stuff like voting on the direction of the company, receive equity through your smart token. And I think that's really interesting. And it goes back a little bit to the original DAO idea, but in a more regulated framework. So I think it opens up interesting opportunities.
Max?
Yes. To be honest, I would disagree with the fact that it's boring, because it depends on which frame you put it in. If you put it in the frame of ICOs, it might be true that you won't have this super innovative, disruptive companies based on decentralization. But what I see it in is the frame of the classical financial system. So, for example, one project I'm in, we're implementing an STO for a small and medium-sized company, and this company would have never gone the way of an ICO. It's impossible for them to implement a utility token, but it is possible for them to do an STO, and it might be impossible to do an IPO. So this is the sweet spot. Companies that are enabled now, and only now, during this, due to this new technological advancement and the advantages we have, just named by you. And this is the interesting part. So basically, kicking out some of the inefficiencies in IPOs, in existing financial systems, as well as enabling new players to enter the market. And then there are a few ICOs that will be left, and they will have the utility tokens, but most of them, that's what I believe, will be replaced by STOs.
Awesome. So I'll just kind of summarize. I think that the STO has the potential to really blow things up this year, 100%. I think a lot of it has to do with the market. If everybody's looking and they still have their losses from last year, it's going to chug along fairly slow, like I feel like it's done so far in 2019. It doesn't mean that it's not going to hit the wave and take off. I think it probably will. This regulatory framework, this open data that people are going to get, the checks and balances, that's what people want. That's what they want when they're investing. But a lot of it has to do with the market. So thank you guys so much. Let's stand up here. We'll get a picture, and then we'll call it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I guess right here. David, you going to take a picture? Somebody looks professional or something. Awesome. It's interesting, guys. Important topic. Thanks, Ismail. All right. I will, I guess I'm going to keep talking. Yeah? Are we going to lunch? Pardon? Is Peter here? Well, I'll tell you what, we went out last night. We had a fantastic time in Vienna. It really was awesome. Great city. Really one of my favorite cities. It's right up there. I went to Moscow last year. I really liked that as well. A lot of fun. Of course, Paris is fun. But there's something very pure about Vienna. And it really is something else. You know, each city has an energy, right?